Hello, everybody. I'm here to talk about my company called Diderot. Diderot is an online education platform that we've been building at CMU. In the past decade, education has become increasingly high-tech. The pandemic has accelerated this trend. Many successful billion-dollar companies now operate in this space. These companies offer textbooks and MOOCs, as well as software for learning management, testing, and messaging. I teach at CMU and I use these tools, but I found them lacking in key aspects. The problem is that to teach a course, we need not just one, but many of these tools. Trying to work with so many tools at once is inefficient and painful. The path forward is obvious. Build one integrated platform that has it all. This is exactly what we do in Diderot. Integration yields superior technology and results in better user experience, more effective analytics and AI at lower costs. Now, how do we do this? We build a software stack where each layer offers one specific service. We start with the foundation of content and course management and build up with interactive books, communication services, auto and human grading, social networking, and finally, data analytics. These layers correspond to tools offered by companies such as Piazza, Gradescope, and Facebook. But we don't just glue them together. We integrate these layers tightly. We found that this integration is the key to better outcomes. For example, our users are happy and our retention rate is very high. Our students are more engaged by as much as 4 times, and they ask better questions. For these reasons, we won an innovation award at CMU. Now, I believe that we have an opportunity of historic proportions in front of us. Now, how do we get there? We currently have funding from National Science Foundation, Carnegie Mellon, and Amazon. Using this funding, we've grown exponentially so far and serve thousands of users today. Our plan moving forward is to grow at the same exponential pace, first within CMU and outside at pilot locations. Ultimately, our goal is to reach each and every student and instructor at a university or high school. In the long run, we will create our own content, expand into social networking and publishing. This robust growth is technically feasible because our infrastructure is fully scalable. It runs fully on the cloud.
Okay, thank you, Umut. Very interesting. So wanted to understand, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier in your presentation, what makes you unique and having a competitive advantage compared to the other platforms that are now in quite widespread use?
Yeah, excellent question. I'll go back to my slide where I've draw the existing companies and where they correspond in our software stack. For example, Piazza. Piazza offers communication services, and I used Piazza for several years, and I started my project actually out of frustration with limitations of Piazza. What's the problem? Let's say you want to ask a question on an example. As a student, you want to ask a question on an example. You have to go to Piazza and say, hey, instructor, on page 15, paragraph 3, there is an example in sentence 5. Could you please explain that to me? Okay. By the time as an instructor, I get to page 15, paragraph 3, sentence 5, I realize either my notes has changed, I'm not able to find the student's question, maybe the student made a mistake and maybe counted the 5th paragraph instead of 3rd. It's a nightmare. So this was exactly the reason, in fact, one of the reasons that I started developing something new. So in Diderot, questions are integrated with books. So if you have a question about an example, as a student, you just click on the example and you ask your question, much like how, for example, on Facebook, you would comment on a post. As an instructor, when I receive students' question, I see the context, or the student is talking about this example. So the questions are contextual. Now, this in this example, what we've seen is the advantage of integrating communication services with books. And I can basically do the same, talk about the same thing for the next level, Gradescope, another tool that we use at Carnegie Mellon. Okay, now in Gradescope, you can take exams, but you can't ask questions on exams. You can take quizzes, but you can't ask questions on quizzes. Well, in Diderot, we have quizzes and you can ask questions, okay? This is super important. If you can't ask questions in an education environment, it really doesn't work. It is all about interaction and communication. So in Diderot, we have like this thing where these services, they don't just stand alone. It's not just a single thing that you do here and there. Everything just kind of works beautifully together, integrate in an integrated fashion. I hope that answered the question.
Thank you, Umut. My question is, who is your customer exactly? Would you be planning on licensing this to other educational platforms? Explain that to me.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So Diderot is actually, covers a lot of ground. So, when I think of this, who are the stakeholders, right? I think of schools like Carnegie Mellon. We use Diderot at Carnegie Mellon. I think of teachers, individual teachers. I think of publishing companies. I think of learners, meaning students, for example, or more generally, anybody who wants to learn. I think of employers. I think of parents that teach, that pay oftentimes for the students. So really, all of these could be our customers in the sense that we could license our product to schools. We could work with publishers to take their traditional textbook mechanisms, textbook publication mechanisms, and turn it into something much more advanced, basically bridging with Web 2.0. We could allow students, right, build up basically Diderot, because Diderot is so integrated, it knows so much about students. It can help students in their education. It can help them to get a job. It can help them what's their weak spot, what's their strong spot. It can help employers to match students and their skills to jobs. I teach, I assign grades. I hate the job of assigning a grade because in my mind at Carnegie Mellon, for example, we have these brilliant students. We give them A's and B's and C's and D's. This is so crude. This is like the stuff of 500 years ago. Every student has a strength, but we are not able to find them because we teach so many of them. A tool like Diderot that knows what the students are doing can find these things and then and give information to employers, give information to students to match them up properly. So anyway, coming back to your question, I feel that there are many sources of income that we can use. For example, we can do subscription to universities, high schools. We can partner with publication houses. We can provide employment services. We can get ad revenue. And finally, Diderot has a beautiful engineering. It has a separate API, actually. We can provide this powerful separate API to other companies who want to use them. Does that answer the question?
So actually that I'm going to build on what Kalani said. Do you have anybody who's paying you? And if so, how are they paying you? What are you, and I'm also interested, have you thought about go-to-market strategy? And there's a sort of integrated.
Excellent question. Yeah, thank you. So there is sort of somebody paying me, as in Carnegie Mellon actually pays for the development of this tool. And implicitly speaking, the understanding is that we serve thousands of students at Carnegie Mellon. And because of that, they're happy to help us continue development. Now, more concretely, Carnegie Mellon has a campus on Qatar, and Qatar pays $100 per student, $100 per student to us. Like we're not a company right now, but to the project.
Thank you.